Hope you're doing as well as I'm doing. I am physically feeling an 8. Today was really, really solid. I've gotten a lot more confident in my lifting since further perfecting my form on my Olympic lifts and everything else, just getting my core strength up. Everything feels really solid. I've been eating enough. And I just felt great. Everything was lined up really well. I felt like really in tune with my body. So mentally, I'm gonna put it at an 8 as well. Just because it's just one of those days where I was just feeling it. Everything moved pretty smoothly. Like I wasn't afraid of any of the weights. I was just kind of having fun. Sometimes you can go into the gym and it can get a little overcomplicated when you start fearing having to do those top sets or just going through several sets in a row at the same weight and not being fully confident in your own body, or I like to call it core confidence, because most lifts are limited by your core, I feel, especially in Olympics. So today was a day where I had just like really, really, really high core confidence that it's a very, very nice feeling every now and then. It makes you feel like PR ready, even though you might not physically be there. But I'm gonna just get a little bit personal today, I think. I don't really have a lot to talk about gym-wise. Everything's just been kind of going really, really good. So I kind of just felt like I'd talk about what's relevant to my brain in the moment, because then I can get the best conversations out of it. But recently, my girlfriend of 4+ years now has found herself in a position where she has an opportunity to move to a different state. This is about 7 hours away from me, to find work where she can potentially make enough money in the time that she works there to go back to college and pay for it completely in full on her own, because she doesn't have any family supporting her. So it's like a kind of big deal when you can go to college and be able to pay it fully off without having student loans, as I'm sure most people can relate to that don't have a lot of support money-wise, whether your family's in it or not. But along with this, that's been not like hurting me at all mentally, but it's been, it's on my mind a lot, and it's the fact that we're gonna have to go long distance for a little bit. I'm completely fine with it, but there's certain levels to it that's of course always going to weigh on you as a person. Like I can be as confident as I want to be, but to certain degrees and certain points, being long distance, it's not the same. And so some things are going to feel like they're lacking. There's certain holes that I'm going to have to fill where I can get the most fulfillment out of the relationship without feeling like we're losing what potentially could have been there. Not that I think we will lose anything from her going there. It's just like, it's a mental thing. Before the big change happens, that first step is always the hardest. And it's like, you got to get the will and the strength up to do it first of all. But then once you commit to it, you got to find out what to do afterward. And you can't really think about it till you get to that point. Because, if you think about it beforehand, like, you're just going to go into it negatively, and negative things happen when you expect the negative. It's just that it always happens, whatever you expect. High like hopes are great, but if you have high expectations, they might not happen. And but especially because, my bad, I'm rambling, but you can have high expectations, but they might not always happen. But if you go in with low expectations will almost always happen, because it's so easy to let the negatives take over, because we get so used to going through every day living the normal positives that we don't realize how many positives we experience daily to counteract those negatives that we don't interact as much with. So I get to just to get to the fucking point. I wanted to talk about my experience with long distance and how I go through it, I guess. Everybody's got their own ways of handling things like this, but it's I think it's good to hear other people's experiences to either get conclusions out of certain mindsets you might have about it, or get certain levels of certain levels of security, because some things I say might line up with what people feel like might not happen. And make them feel a little bit more secure about the situation. But essentially, we've gone long distance before. It's not new to me. When I went to college, she stayed in the town we went to high school in together, because she had to go to college there for a little bit because it was cheaper. The whole idea was for her to go to college there for as long as she could and then move in with me. And that all went well. But the first time round, obviously, 3 years ago, we weren't as fully committed to the relationship as we are now, just naturally. Even if we were fully committed, it's just I'm at a point now where I'm levels beyond what I was at 3 years ago. So when I went to college, there's always those small thoughts in the back of your mind. I'm not saying this to say that I felt I felt like I couldn't hold myself back from exploring new options, but there's always the thought in your brain of man, if this doesn't work out in the end, what was it worth, or what was it all for? There's always a why did I do that if it's just gonna fail? And the way that I think about that and counteract that kind of negative mindset is just going about it with you gotta live it as an experience. I always view relationship stuff, whether it's friends or your girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever, you need at least 50% good things coming out of the relationship in order to have a valid reason to continue to want to push to make that relationship work. I guess with close family, it's a little different because, it's blood, and sometimes that can make it feel unconditional, the love that you have to feel for those people. But when it comes to friends and girlfriends, boyfriends, there's just a way lower level of commitment because they aren't in your direct bloodline, and it feels like they could leave at any point. So basically, it feels like it's an easy out to say, in my opinion, to say, oh, well, if it's gonna fail, why don't I just dip out now? It's just cope. And again, if you feel that way, it's normal. But if you consistently feel that way for a long time, I think there's more something wrong in the sense of you might not be getting enough positives out of the relationship that make you want to fight to keep that relationship alive. When there's more negatives coming out of it than positive, your level of commitment, of course, is going to go down, and the ability that you have to care for that person is going to go down, even if you do care for them very, very dearly. I've had my moments where I've felt damn, I feel like I am putting in more into this relationship when, and again, it's even if you are putting more into the relationship, it's that kind of mindset and thinking kind of stems from a selfish background. And it's good to know your own value and to know whether or not the other person needs to put in a little bit more. But you can't just sit there and say, oh, they should be putting in more. Well, if that's the case, communicate. You need to get that out in order for them to actually put forth the effort and realize, damn, these things. And again, you don't want to go out and just blame somebody. That's always going to make the other person put up their defenses and make it a big brawl about who's right. It's never about who's right. It's just about making each other as happy as possible without hindering each other's lives in the process. So whenever I thought that I may have been putting in more into the relationship than my girlfriend, I was like, okay, wait, let's think about it. I obviously don't want this relationship to end. And if there's a way to work through it, then I should pursue that route instead of thinking, man, I deserve more, So I communicated, got that out, and we worked through that. And, it worked out great. She eventually got to move in with me. Awesome. So now, when it comes to her moving again, I'm obviously more confident now than I have ever been and more committed than I've ever been. But it's still it's a sense of deja vu of damn, really gonna have to do that one more time. Which again, it's completely fine. I'm not against it. I'm absolutely for it. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. Regardless of how close you are to someone, if there is an opportunity that is gonna make their life so much better for themselves, being a good friend or a good boyfriend or a good girlfriend or a good son or daughter, whatever, is pushing for that person to commit to those opportunities, because they don't pop up ever. Those kinds of opportunities are so one in thousands rare. It doesn't happen very often. And so when people either don't have the will to push for those opportunities, or they don't have the people in their environment pushing them to go after those opportunities when they're doubtful, then they miss them. And that's why people lead a less successful life. You know, every opportunity you got to jump at right away, because when you like leave it alone, you're eventually going to run out of time in life to make up for whatever success that you would have wanted in the first place. Not saying you need to be a fucking millionaire. Of course that's not the case. But the level of success that everybody wants differs per that person. So regardless if you end up just being like a basic employee versus $1 million company owner, everybody's got that level of opportunity that they need to get through in order to get those levels of success. So I'm pushing for her to go, and she's also scared to go as well. But it's we both understand that either one, if it doesn't work out, whatever, she can just come back. It's kind of like saying that the worst thing she can say is no. Of course, there are worse things that people can say than no. But when it comes to like life stuff, it's like it's really like nothing is ever permanent unless you force it to be permanent. It's kind of like how I very much believe that things affect people only as much as that person allows it to affect them. Of course, every situation varies. There are very dramatic situations that I can't speak the same volumes for. But for most day-to-day obstacles, or like just life obstacles that you have to go through at some point, as you know, it's only going to affect you as much as you allow it to. You know, if you have a negative or weak mindset about it, of course it's going to get to you more than you would have wanted it to. You're letting it. You know, you got to give some kickback, and you know, do what you got to do to make the best out of that opportunity. So regardless of the opportunity and her going for it, the way I'm going about it is I'm at a level of commitment where I am fully confident that as long as she doesn't die, I'm never going to be with another woman in my life. I'm lucky for her to be the only person I've ever been with. That wasn't planned. First girl I got to go on a date with, we just ended up working out. Luck of the draw. You know, I'm that one in a million, so fuck it. But I am fully confident we will never split up. We will always be together, regardless of the distance. So the distance isn't the issue. It's more so that day-to-day, in-person interaction, because it's never the same through a phone. So I guess the way that I imagine I'm going to deal with it, because it hasn't happened yet, so I can't really vouch yet, is of course I'm going to call a lot and do whatever, but you got to fill those gaps of supplementation or fulfillment in the relationship with new ideas and new experiences that you haven't done before that wouldn't be possible when you're in the same room together every day, you know, because just like this opens up a bunch of negative possibilities, it can also open up a bunch of positive possibilities. Something that I've thought about is both of my parents actually live like on the same route it takes to get to where she's going. So it's a great, like a way that I can think about it is it's a great way for us to get the entire family together, because nobody sees each other as much anymore. And so that's a great thing. You know, I don't play a ton of video games, but it could be a great opportunity to jump into some new games that I would have never played before and just do some co-op stuff. Like back when COVID happened and we couldn't see each other, we played like 60 hours of Terraria in a matter of a few days, just because it was so fun to just like hop on something and work towards a goal together, even if it wasn't tangible. You know, I guess that's a good way to put it. It's just having a goal or having separate goals in the relationship that you want to push for, and just finding those different ways to get to those goals, you know, like maintaining the fulfillment or showing enough love, respect, and passion towards the relationship every day. Those don't have to come in boxes of flowers or chocolates, you know. It can be a matter of just playing a simple game of Fortnite, you know, as weird as that may sound. So I'm more confident now that I've talked about it. But you know, I'm gonna miss having my best friend in my day-to-day life for a while. But it's, you know, again, it's only as permanent as you let it feel. And I know that she's gonna be back in my life sooner than I know it. So, and again, not that she's leaving my life. I make it sound like somebody's dying. But it's a new feeling, I guess. But she'll be back in my personal life permanently, faster than I know it. You know, I got a long life to live ahead of me. Of course, I can't predict that, but I am going to go into my life fully confident that that's how it's going to happen. You know, I'm going to live a long life, and I'm just going to live it out as long as I'm happy. You know, do the best that I can do. So, I don't know if this got a little weird or personal, but shit comes from the heart, I guess. I like just going in one take and just getting the shit out on my way home from the gym. So I'm always like, I got like the best conversations in my mind whenever I'm driving. But I don't know, if this clicked for anybody, great. Use this to the best of your ability, and if it didn't, then do the best you can. That's all you can do, and I'm rooting for you regardless. So have a good day otherwise.